Princess Do is Diane Dye.
They've never read the research.
Apparently
the
not.
comparison.
Yeah,
Well,
apparently
it's
not.
actually not completely impossible. I mean, if when Diane was born, if she was actually accidentally switched with another baby, then obviously
It would be a startling set of coincidences.
it would be.
But it is technically feasible.
yeah.
I can wrap my head around it. Yes.
You can win the lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody put this on my script.
Wasn't me.
I don't
Looking
know.
at you, Joe.
Huh?
Theorem 2.5
Yeah.
that Princess Do was actually Patricia Vaughn.
This is similar to Diane Dye, and
Mm-hmm.
that people have put it out there because, well, the one looks good about it is she disappeared 2 months before Princess Do turned up.
Mm-hmm. And she went missing from West Virginia.
Like raised Connecticut, but was actually in West
So
Virginia.
New
when she
England,
disappeared.
sort of. I mean,
Yeah.
West Virginia
General
is not,
area.
but
Yeah.
closer than Oregon is.
Yeah, closer than California.
And she was
Arizona.
She was. Do you remember how old she was too?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't
Not-
remember
not
either.
terribly old.
She was in the age bracket. I think she was 20, so she was on the upper end of the age bracket.
Yeah, I was. For some reason, I'm thinking 19.
19 or
But,
20,
you know,
still the
right
upper
in
end
there.
of the age bracket.
Yeah.
And she wasn't reported missing until 1995.
Which is
Yeah, that's kind of
Suspicious.
interesting.
always baffling.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And now there's actually a Facebook page
For Patricia Vaughn.
for Patricia Vaughn.
Find Patricia Vaughn, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so they wait 13 years, and now they're really into it.
They're really,
they
really
got a
interested.
Facebook page.
Yeah. And I guess fine, why not? She was blonde and technically kind of in the age range, but
Well, and if you look at photographs, there's a couple of photos of her out there. She looks the shape of her face and everything.
kind of.
Well, the great thing about Princess Do is there's so many different sketches and reconstructions that you can find one that looks like just about anybody.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
match her up with a lot of people.
Yeah, but one of the big problems is her height. Patricia was like 5'5", right?
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah. She also had in her name, I don't remember which one it is, Charlie Project posting maybe. She had a broken arm, and she had her tonsils out, and her wisdom teeth were impacted. Mm-hmm. And Princess Do didn't have any of those things.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a good match at all.
No, probably not.
It's kind of a bummer.
I don't know why. I've seen this not just on the internet, but in news accounts. Although,
Yeah.
of course, news accounts, journalism, whatever. It's the same as the internet, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the only two named people that we really added.
Mm-hmm.
One theory is that Princess Do is a runaway or a prostitute. The theory goes, predictably, that Princess ran away. Maybe she was gone. Maybe she ran away. And then she was well known in Ocean City, Maryland, either as being a runaway or as a prostitute, or perhaps both.
And this is another theory that I just
Yeah.
wonder where the hell it came from.
Yeah, so the idea is that she was a well-known prostitute at a local truck stop, I guess. And there's a big problem with this, and that is that not a single person came forward and said they recognized her. On the other hand, I'll go ahead and say that if she was indeed underage, I don't know a single person who would be like, oh yeah, I know that prostitute.
Yeah,
She's that
I let her into
15-year-old
my
girl that
truck
I've been
last
sleeping
week.
with. No, you don't say that. I'm sorry, you just don't. I mean, even if you're a really good person and you really, want to help,
Well, there's such a thing as writing a little note and dropping it in the mail.
that's my thought,
And
though.
that's-
There's
that's
such a
got-
thing as an anonymous phone call from a payphone.
There's that too, and
You know.
so that's why I think that probably she was not a prostitute.
Somehow I've been doing a lot of research about girls that are in this situation, of falling into prostitution as a means to survive. And there's a whole bunch of different ways to cope. Some get on drugs and they become very well known because they're just trying so hard all the time, because they're not only trying to support themselves but a habit. There are others who are very standoffish. They're clean, but they meet a John, they do what they gotta do, and then they take off, and they're just moving around and they're not staying in the same place. And those girls, the second one I'm mentioning, those are the ones that it's easiest for them to disappear and nobody knows.
Oh, yeah. for
Because
sure.
they're not in one place long enough. Like this whole, she was at particular truck stop A, whatever, like that doesn't make sense. But these girls bounce around. You meet a guy, you make a couple of bucks off him, you talk him into giving you a ride to the next major truck stop, and then you hop out, and he goes his way, and you go your way, and these girls disappear, and there's a lot of friggin' scuzzballs in those truck stops, especially back in the 80s. That was...
Yeah, and there's
that was a supermarket for killers.
Yeah,
and also she was found in that cemetery, which is actually on a highway. I mean, it's not a super highway or anything, but it's not a back road by any means.
Yeah.
And of course, it's an obvious place to go pull off in the dead of night is to a cemetery. And just go off to the edge there and do your killing, and then push the body in the ravine, and off you go.
Yeah. We don't even know that she was killed there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very possible that she was killed someplace else and then just dumped.
Yeah,
entirely possible.
The person, whoever it is, man or woman or beast, whatever the case may be, puts her there, lays her skirt over, and gives her a shove downhill, and walks back out and takes off, and nobody's going to be the wiser.
Yeah. So, absolutely. So I don't know. I think it is possible that maybe she was a runaway prostitute to support herself, but I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's likely that she was like a regular, that everybody knew her. Or anything like that.
Yeah, I will not agree with that she was a known worker at that area. I think we're probably going to get in trouble because I think the proper term is sex worker.
Yeah,
We've got a little flack, so sorry about that,
sex
folks.
Sex worker doesn't really cover it, because sex worker can mean a lot of things.
Well, that's true.
And I don't know how many prostitutes actually get into drugs and that kind of thing. Apparently, Princess Doe did not have any drugs in her system.
She did not.
And so I'm sure there probably are prostitutes who don't do drugs. I don't know, I guess.
Yes, of course there are.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, okay. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a prerequisite.
Yeah, it's not? Okay.
No, not at all.
No. There's a theory out there that she worked at a local camp.
Like a Friday the 13th kind of camp?
Exactly. Friday the 13th camp, actually. I'm pretty sure this one came from Fear, because in Fear, the character that was portrayed as Princess Doe was the fictionalized version of her. She was found on the grounds of Camp Spirit Lake, which is a fictionalized version of Nobibosco.
What a weird name.
I think it's probably Indian.
You think so?
I do.
Okay, because it the way it's written and the way I've seen it written, I always assumed somebody made it up.
Oh, yeah, no, I think...
Like, we're going to make a camp here for kids, and let's make a fun name. Let's call it Nobibosco.
Nobibosco.
Yeah, I wonder what that, no be, so don't be whoever Bosco is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bosco?
Yeah, Nobi Bosco.
Don't be Bosco Coltrane?
Could be. I got a feeling there's a joke in there.
Yeah, I do. Probably. I really think that there is.
I really do.
I'm sorry, this is very tangential, but we were in Vegas and we were at the Excalibur, and there's an Italian restaurant there called Papa de Buco. And that's what this reminds me of.
Papa de Buco.
Anyway,
I like it.
So Camp Nobibosco is actually a real camp in Hardwick Township in New Jersey, which is close to where Princess Doe was found.
But if she had been at that camp, don't you think that somebody would have said, "Hey, it's weird, this person in the camp is gone"?
Yes. Well, actually, that camp, the reason that camp is notable is because it was actually the filming location for Friday the 13th. And even more crazy, Lieutenant Krantz, do you remember Lieutenant Krantz?
Eric Krantz.
He was actually in Friday the 13th. That filmed at that camp.
Yeah, what did I
2 years
that.
before they found Princess Doe's body.
I heard that. Now, did he play a corpse or a teenager?
I think he was an extra, if I remember correctly. He was
really?
somewhere in the background. He wasn't.
He didn't have a speaking part. He was probably just one of the policemen that shows up at the end to cart away the bodies.
Yeah, and then he ogled Jamie Lee Curtis, and then he left.
Why would he do that? No, she wasn't in that movie. That was Halloween you're thinking of. It was like, who was that girl? She had big hair.
It was an 80s movie.
Oh, God. I get it. Yeah. They're all so silly anymore. I get it mixed up.
Okay, forget that.
So, I just know it's not Freddy Krueger.
So I'm pretty sure that is where that came from. I don't think that there's any credit. And also, I agree that if a camp counselor or somebody who was attending a camp had disappeared, the people who were running the camp would have been pretty on it.
Yeah, unless,
said,
well,
like, hey,
unless there's like this whole thing where there's a camp, and then the whole vacation's over and everybody leaves. You wouldn't think you'd be leaving as early as mid-July.
Yeah, I don't think
But-
so.
Well, but I mean, camps do run in cycles,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 week cycles. But even if that were the case, as much coverage as this story
Somebody
got,
would have recognized those clothes.
You would
yes,
think, yeah.
somebody's like it should have.
Yeah.
Somebody should have been keyed in to recognize something.
They totally would have. So that's all the theories for who this person, Princess Doe, might have been. Let's talk about who might have done this to Princess Doe.
Nancy Reagan.
Uh-huh.
I don't think so.
Hillary
No?
Clinton? No?
No. There's a theory out there, and I think this is we're gonna do like most to least credible, I guess.
You should do least to most.
Oh, you want to do least to most? We can
Yeah.
do least to most. The least credible theory I've ever heard, I literally titled this "The Dumbest Theory," is that Princess Doe was killed by the by a Blairstown police officer, which is why the case was never solved. That's so dumb.
Is it though?
Yeah.
You know that if you're like you're the investigating officer, when this was one particular guy that wanders by every month, so it says, hey, any movement on Princess Doe? And they say, no. Oh, awesome, great. I mean, that's really too bad. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say high five. I mean, aw.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
It's not the craziest thing because listen, we have read about and had people talk to us about massive instances of police involvement and corruption for things like this. I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
it's not unheard of
But
on
There's-
Law and Order.
There's no evidence at all.
there's no evidence, and the deep dedication that Lieutenant Krantz has shown to this case. I mean, he's been investigating it actively, even in retirement.
Well, obviously it wasn't
more than
him. It
25
was
years.
some other lieutenant.
Right, but I think he would have found something out if there was something to be found out.
All right, I'm
pretty
done.
sure.
I'm done supporting
Yeah.
this. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
just not fun anymore.
No,
it's
it's
just
not.
really silly.
The next dumbest theory is Henry Lee Lucas. You guys know Henry Lee Lucas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Henry Lee Lucas is the serial killer who claims to have murdered more than 3,000 people.
Yeah.
So, of course, he is a suspect. I don't see any similarities with his actual confirmed murders and this murder.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with that
it's
guy.
dumb.
You really can't take him at his word,
You
unfortunately.
cannot, no.
We just talked about this recently.
Yeah, can't do it.
Jerk.
The next most credible theory is Joel Rifkin. He's also an American serial killer.
I've heard of Joel, but I can't remember. I know he's killed a bunch, but how many did he kill?
I don't remember.
Okay.
He's believed to have killed up to 17.
Okay,
All right.
yeah, pretty prolific.
That's a bunch.
Yeah, but it would have been really early. His first official murder was in 1989.
And he
So-
also had a thing for going for prostitutes in the New York area.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And his mode, he did a lot of weird cutting of panty. Isn't he the one who did like the weird cutting situation with clothes?
he would take off like the first girl. He took off her fingertips and her teeth, and like he was doing some semi dismembering.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't just a guy who just dumped the body whole
Yeah.
and just.
Well, and I mean, I can see the argument for escalation. You know, that he just accidentally beat this one girl and then didn't do anything. But I don't.
Wait, when was Princess found?
82.
And
He was in 89.
89.
First killing.
But I don't think it was him. I don't think.
Yeah, I really.
No real reason to think so.
I
no.
really always am worried when we're like, oh, but it was escalation because it just seems like too easy
It's
of a
an
way
easy
to paint the guy into the box.
For sure, for
paint the
sure.
box around the guy.
Yeah, especially since we have a better suspect.
Oh,
We do.
Yeah. So I think the most plausible suspect is Arthur and maybe Donna Kinlaw. In 1999, Donna Kinlaw was arrested in California using the name Elena, which was traced to a Long Island native who was actually involved in a prostitution ring that her husband, Arthur Kinlaw, was running.
Ooh.
Donna gave details about 2 other murders that she said Arthur had committed. Both were unidentified females, and both remain unidentified. And
This
I
is
said
aside
other.
from Princess.
This is aside from Princess. It's aside from Elena as well. Elena had been murdered.
Ah.
Why did why did Donna because she'd been murdered, then she was on the hook for the murder, so that's why she implicated her husband?
No, she was on the hook for welfare
for fraud.
Yeah, and so she thought she was getting good with the cops by turning her husband in.
Yeah,
because that's the way crooks work.
Honestly, okay. I don't know why. I don't know her motivations. I'm not a criminal psychologist.
Yeah.
So I don't know why she decided to just talk about this. Some people are just talkers.
Some people just flip on a dime.
She also, I think, was trying to paint herself as the just victim. She was being forced to do these things, and I think she was trying to paint herself as she felt guilty. I don't know if she did or not, but
no, I seem to remember reading something about the fact that Don was Arthur. Sorry, that Arthur was he was controlling and abusive.
That's what Donna said when she was arrested.
And so, of course, it was not her; it was him the whole time to answer Joe's question.
Yeah.
And that she couldn't do anything about it, or she'd get the beat.
Well, she did say at least once that he literally held like a gun to her head and said, "You have to do this." I don't remember what that was. I don't think it was a murder thing. I think it was something else. But she said that he threatened her. And so after Arthur went to trial and faced the death penalty for the original 3 murders, Donna gave the original 3 murders.
3? Well, 3 murders.
The 2 unidentified women and Elena.
Oh, and Elena.
Yep.
Okay.
Donna gave further information that Arthur had killed one other female, a young prostitute, in a graveyard in early 1982. There's really no corroborating evidence for this. It sounds like Donna's story may have changed a few times. Police can't substantiate it. Donna said, in one instance, that Arthur had brought a young woman who was matched the description and wearing similar clothes home and then left and then came back without her. In another instance, Donna said actually she had gone to the graveyard with them, and then Arthur had said, she had watched him murder.
She witnessed the murder, yeah.
She had been a witness, and then Arthur said, if you tell anyone, I'll do this to you. So her story changed a couple times.
Shifted.
But I don't know why she would say that he murdered her if he didn't.
I mean,
unless it was to try to solidify the death penalty so she never had to see it.
Well, I think that what she was trying to do is shovel it on thick and deep so that she looked like the innocent bystander, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And as you guys just kind of hinted at, so that there was no way he was going to get out of it, so that he couldn't come after her, whether he truly was doing the things she said he was
or not,
or if she just said, hey Patsy, thanks a lot.
There's a lot of guys who are pimps and run prostitution rings who aren't necessarily murderers, but who still are violent.
Oh yeah.
The kind of people you really, I can see why she might want to get away from him and see him locked up for a long time. But as far as the whole problem with it is this case actually did get a fair amount of publicity, and so it's entirely possible that her being from that kind of area, the geographic area not far from New Jersey, heard all about it. Heard about the circumstances of this body being found in a graveyard in New Jersey.
Totally.
And so
yeah.
So even though Arthur may well have committed some murders,
well, I guess the other thing is that like finding out who did that to her doesn't really bring us any closer to finding out who she was.
Well, he might have some clues as to her identity if you find out who it is and wring the truth out of him.
You might, but if it was Arthur, he said he just picked up a random prostitute.
Well, I find it interesting though that whoever did kill Princess really thought it was important to obliterate her face.
Yeah.
But
just around the eyes, her mouth was totally.
I disagree. I don't know that this is necessarily a scenario where it was done in such a way to make her unidentifiable. Because everybody at that point, everybody knows about fingerprints. So if you really want to take her off the map, you would do like what's his name and start cutting off the hands and the fingertips.
Sure, but supposing you knew her and you knew that she'd never been arrested or fingerprinted.
But okay, well,
And
but
so-
that implies that you know her well enough to know that. I mean, this
And
could
maybe
be.
there's nothing saying the murderer didn't know her.
Yeah, but there's. I mean, it could very well have been just. I mean, we've talked about these cases before. Just a case of rage, and the guy literally just beats her and beats her and beats her
Sure.
past the point of death. He is
They
just.
call that overkill.
Yeah.
Nice pun.
No, I
that's literally the
recognize.
technical
I recognize
term.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that it's entirely possible that it was deliberately to impede identification.
And I'm
Also
saying
possible.
I don't think that it necessarily was. I mean, the level that she
but if
was
I were-
at her face,
If I
and
were
not
the
the
police,
rest of her.
yeah, no, but if I were the police, I would be thinking about it. I'd be thinking about that particular thing. So she's not been arrested, and yet somebody would have known her by her face. So I mean, not much, but
But it's possible that if she was in the industry, she may not have been in the industry for a long period of time.
yeah.
And
so
there
I'm
are
not
people
saying,
who
not saying
are-
she wasn't a prostitute.
No, but I'm not either. But I'm saying if that's the scenario, she may have been in it a short enough time or good enough at avoiding being caught that she wasn't in the system, because there are people who go for years without getting picked up by the police.
She also might not have been a prostitute.
Yeah. She may have been some poor innocent bystander who got a ride
Yeah.
from the wrong
She
dude.
could have been a hitchhiker.
From
Yeah.
a psycho dude, yeah.
Yeah.
And it could have been like, that would be one reason, say if you picked her up at a truck stop or somewhere, and you're a little worried that somebody's going to recognize her in the papers, and then maybe put two and two together. She saw her climbing into your brown Buick with you. Well, just wipe her face out, and
Although
that helps.
they were really distinctive clothes, so I don't know why you would leave her.
I
with
didn't
her.
think her clothes were that remarkable.
Dudes don't think that way.
That's
I
a
guess.
good point too.
Dudes do not think
and
that
clearly
way.
it didn't really matter that much because nobody's come forward and said, "Yeah, I recognize those clothes."
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I have. Do you guys have any additional theories?
Not really. All I would say for the clothes too is that who knows? I mean, the skirt. She might not even have ever worn that skirt. I mean,
That's
somebody
true.
could have bought it at the Goodwill and draped it over her body. I mean,
True enough.
somebody could have pulled her pants and her panties off her and thrown them away somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a total red herring.
True.
Yeah.
Red herring.
Oh, sorry.
Wow, this one's got more in it than I expected in
Yeah.
terms of puns.
So, yeah, I'm not super thrilled about the resolution to this case, but we cover unsolved mysteries. So
That's
this is
okay.
what we do.
Somebody will listen to this podcast. It will jar their memory, and there will be
Hopefully.
some resolution here.
Yeah. So we're going to put some links, as usual, on our website that you can find there, where you can also stream the episode if you want. I think you can download the episode from the website as well. If you're wondering if we've covered a case, there's a list of episodes there. You can also find links to our merch. The website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. We're on social media, of course. You can find us on Facebook. We've got a group and a page, so like the page and join the group. We've got Twitter, which is Thinking Sideways. We also have a subreddit, which is just Thinking Sideways. And finally, if you want to get a hold of us, the very best way to do that is to send us an email. Despite the thousands of emails we get a day, we don't get 1,000 emails a day. We get a lot
It
of
feels like it sometimes.
we respond to every single one of them eventually. It takes us a little while, but we read and respond to every single email that we get,
Yes, we
including spam sometimes on accident. So there you go.
Yeah, quit
and-
starring that
yeah,
stuff.
geez.
It's not
So
me.
you can send us
Haven't doing
an
that.
email at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's all the business we have.
I think so.
Well, did you give out Joe's phone number?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
It's,
555-1212.
yep. Anyway, okay, I guess that's all I have for this week. So we're just going to depressingly get out of here.
I suppose so. Toodle everybody. We'll see you in a week.
All right, guys. Talk to you next week
Bye.
when Devin's voice is better.
Yeah.
Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by that new car smell. Instead, it's brought to you by you. Us. You. You and us. Because we're teaming up with you, our listeners, for a new intro to the podcast. Running a contest through the month of July 2017. Anybody can submit an introduction to be considered. Go to our website and look for the contest page. Has all of the details on the requirements and how to submit it. Remember, though, you got to get it into us by July 31st to be considered.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't get it.
I brought the aliens.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I don't know. Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Well, hey there, and welcome again to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I am Steve, as always, joined by...
Devin!
And Joe!
In an echo chamber!
We're just, excited because we're, about to leave on a vacation.
Oh,
yeah.
Vacation? Is that what we're doing?
No, it's not a vacation.
No, it's going to be hard work.
Well, once again this week we have a mystery for you, and we're going to share it, which is going to be the quite cleverly named Project Lucifer.
I like it.
Yeah. This is a listener suggestion. I'm going to say this now because I always forget this stuff. It was suggested by Dallas quite a while back, so
thank
you, Dallas.
You have a cool name.
Yeah. So, what is Project Lucifer? Well,
Space.
Yes, it happens in space.
Don't like it.
In a single sentence, Project Lucifer is a supposed plan to create a second sun in our solar system.
Which I like. I like the idea a lot.
I think it's really not a good idea, but that's for, my own selfish reasons.
We'll go over the reasons why it's a good idea.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay, we should probably just dive right in.
All right.
There's a little bit to go over.
You mean take off?
Hoser.
Let's launch.
Yeah.
Come on, Joe, where's your pun?
All I had was
You
that,
spaced out?
Yeah, all I had was that Canadian lingo.
Okay. Well, if anybody has read much sci-fi, then you've probably read Arthur C. Clarke's novel 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Of course.
And even if you haven't read that book, you've probably seen Stanley Kubrick's movie of the same name.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yes,
That
once
one,
again,
yeah.
Kubrick has made an appearance in the show.
Yeah.
Right on.
I really like him, so apparently
He's in every
I'm
episode,
shoehorning him
apparently.
in wherever I can.
You are.
Yeah.
Well, what people may not know is that there was a second book and then a second film, which was called 2010 Odyssey 2. Mm-hmm. Well, if you haven't read the book or you haven't seen the movie and you intend to, you should probably stop the podcast. I think it's been 30 plus years. I think we're safe, but if it's in your queue and you want to pause us, now's the time to do it.
Right on.
All right, for the rest of you who are listening, here's what's going on. In the second book, The Monolith, which was in the first book and movie, it is still orbiting Jupiter. The monolith eventually ends up on the surface of Jupiter.
Where they resurrect their dead.
No,
That's not...
wrong one.
That's the Toynbee Tiles.
Yeah, it's Kubrick's idea in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Resurrect dead on planet Jupiter.
Oh, you're right.
Don't
That is
question
not
me about the Toynbee
storyline.
Tiles.
That is not the storyline.
All right.
The storyline is that the monolith ends up on the surface of Jupiter, at which point it begins to replicate itself. And
I know. I'm not actually sure that's what happened.
I read a couple of synopsi, and basically what happens is that it ends up on the surface, it grows, it's growing enough, and they say that it's replicating itself to create more mass. It becomes a dark spot on Jupiter.
Yeah.
You can actually, it's observable from space. It is growing so large.
Well, it's been a long time since I read the book, but essentially the gist of 2001 is that the aliens left a wormhole next to Jupiter.
Uh-huh.
And that's what allowed our astronaut to travel to them.
Right. He makes an appearance in the second one, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'd always sort of assumed that they were just chunking, thousands and thousands and thousands of these monoliths through the wormhole rather than it replicating itself. This is
I'll be
kind of
quite
just,
honest.
who cares?
I didn't read the book.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the time to watch the
Really what
the movie,
happens
but it's not
is-
that important.
What happens is suddenly there are a bunch of monoliths of the similar
Lots and lots
nature
of
in
them.
the same
Yeah.
little area on Jupiter.
Correct. And the monoliths began to condense the Jupiter, which is a gas giant, with additional mass. And it is this application of the additional mass that allows